Hi there, Tahar from the Qoblex team. In today's walkthrough video, we're going to look into landed costs. For that, I prepared a purchase order that has two products, the Collection Snowboard Liquid and the Collection Snowboard Oxygen, where I ordered 1 unit of the liquid snowboard and 2 units of the oxygen snowboard. I also received these units, and both of them cost $700. If we look at the product itself, you will see the moving average cost of the oxygen snowboard is set to 475 USD and the liquid snowboard to 108 USD. The first type of landed costs we're going to look into are the simple landed costs. Those are usually coming from the same supplier and would be part of the same PO. To record that, you would click on Add Custom Line Items. And let's assume the supplier is charging us for shipping and freight. Quantity 1, and let's say this is $500. And I also can pick the purchase tax. As I save, the system will take the custom item and it will divide it across the line items that are in the purchase order. The landed cost is divided by value, meaning the most expensive items in the purchase order are going to inherit the largest chunk of that landed cost. In our case, we have these two products. They have the same price. However, we have 2 units of the oxygen snowboard and 1 unit only of the liquid snowboard. And as you can see here, this unit inherits 166 extra cost, and this one inherits 333. And if you sum up these two, you end up with the 500 here. Now, note that I don't have any taxes configured here. But if I do set a tax for this line item, then it's going to be the value of the custom item net of tax, which is going to be distributed across the purchase order line items. If we check the products that we have received, you will notice that the moving average cost has jumped up. That's because of the landed cost that we have just distributed across those PO line items. So the first product, which is the oxygen snowboard, is now at 481 USD, and the liquid snowboard is now at $110. You can also see this from the product history. So if I click on View History and I look at the moving average cost, you see that it has moved from 98.47 to 108 after I received those extra units. And then it moved to 110.66 after I attached and after I distributed those extra landed costs. Now, it's important to mention that there are two types of custom line items that are supported in the purchase order module. The first one is what we have shown you here, which are the landed costs. And the other one is the expenses line item. For example, if I have customs VAT, that's usually a charge that you do not distribute across your products, and therefore should be recorded as an expense. As I save, you will notice that the expense line item won't get distributed across the products. Just give it a price here. Let's say it's $200, and I save. And only the $500 here are going to be distributed across these two line items. And the customs VAT is ignored. As I created this purchase order, and now if I bill all of these lines and these custom lines, they will sync to your favorite accounting system. If you have Xero, you would get both the purchase order and the bill in Xero. If you have QuickBooks, then you would get the bill in QuickBooks, again, with these line items and the custom line items. Another scenario we encounter quite often, mostly with customers who import goods from abroad, is they record their purchase orders for their suppliers to send them the products, but then they need to pay another supplier for example, transportation and freight. In that case, you want that transportation and freight bill to be accounted in the moving average cost of the products that you have received in either one purchase order or maybe many. It might happen that you have a container in which you have 10 purchase orders, and that whole container is then transported by a freight company to your warehouse. And in that case, you want to take those freight charges and distribute them across all of those 10 purchase orders that you have received in that container. In that case, you need to use the freight purchase order. So for that, we're going to create another purchase order. And this time, we'll create a freight order. We enter the details. And let's say I'm in Norway and my freight bill is coming in Norwegian crowns. I need to add the freight. Let's add the storage fee as well. Let's say freight is 1,000 crowns and storage is 2,000 crowns. I can approve the order. Now, in order for the system to figure out that this is a freight order that needs to be distributed across other purchase orders, we need to use the related order link. So we're going to click on link and order, and then we're going to look for the purchase order that we have created earlier, which is L0012. Select the PO, and make sure the link type is set to extra landed cost, not back order. I can add as many purchase orders as I want, which this freight order will distribute it across when I close it. So in our case, let's just pick up L0012. And you see the order has now appeared here. If we refresh the screen on the original PO where I have received my products, you will see that the cost has jumped up. In fact, what happened here is the system automatically grabbed these lines, 1,000 crowns and 2,000 crowns, converted them into my base currency, which is USD, then distributed the crown across these line items. And as always, this line, where I received 2 units, will always get the largest chunk of those landed costs, mainly because I have ordered 2 units. And the price is 700, which is the same as the first unit. Now, if we go back to the transaction history and we refresh the screen, you will see the freight PO, which is 1859, and the moving average cost that jumped from 110 to 121. You can also add expenses to freight orders. So I can add in customs VAT, and I can set this one to an expense and set this one to, let's say, 3,000 crowns. And as you can imagine, now when I save this order, the system will refresh this, the first line item and the second one, but the third one will be ignored because expenses are not distributed across your products. The other thing that is quite interesting is if you look at the original PO where I have the orders, you will see the freight PO appearing here as well. This will help you navigate between the orders and jump between your purchase orders where your products are and the freight orders which are linked to the original PO. Another scenario we come across quite often is as a merchant, you would receive your stock and you put it in your warehouse, then you sell the stock, then later you receive the freight bill. In that case, what happens to those items that have already been sold? As cost of goods have already been captured and the moving average cost of those units have changed after you have recorded the freight order, which again came in very late after all of the received products have already been sold. In this case, you don't need to do anything. In fact, what the system will do is as you sell those line items or as you sell those products, we will record a cost of goods sold transaction based on the moving average cost of those products at the time you received them. However, when you receive the freight bill, the system will realize that those units have actually been sold. It will still update the moving average cost, but what is important here, it will actually trace all of the products that have already been sold. It will find the corresponding cost of goods sold transaction, and it will adjust them. And that adjustment will also sync to your favorite accounting system, be it Xero or QuickBooks. This is how Qoblex helps you manage your landed cost, be them simple landed costs, which are part of the same purchase order, same currency, same supplier, or landed costs that are charged by a third-party company such as a shipping and freight company. And as I have shown you during this walkthrough, those bills, they can be in any currency different from the currency of the purchase order that you're sending to your supplier. At the end of the day, Qoblex will convert those freight bills into your base currency and then will distribute them across all of the purchase orders that are linked to that freight purchase order. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, as always, drop them below. If you have any feature requests, please don't hesitate to send us an email, either to myself or to our support team. Thank you.